So I thought today I would show, this is for amateurs. It's my 2019 Harley-Davidson. I thought maybe I'd show you guys changing the oil. And when I change the oil, I drop all 3 holes. And if you don't know what that means, I'll explain that to you. Okay, some people just change the oil. I drop all 3 holes every 5,000 miles, okay? So I'll go step by step. We'll go through what I do in the manual, and then we'll get the bike warmed up, start dropping some fluids, and I'll show you underneath the bike as we're going, and hopefully you can learn something. All right, so one of the first things I do is I come over and I turn the power on and I get my mileage, okay? We still have to let the bike warm up. This is all leading up to that to get ready to drop the oil. Then I go on my receipt, I write the mileage there. And then also in the back of the book, let me find the page. I'll show you that paper in a minute. I write down all my mileages, okay? The very first one Harley-Davidson did, that was my 1,000-mile ride. Guys, I don't care what anyone tells you. You are not gonna void your warranty by doing your own oil changes. Just make the recording and keep the receipts with the book, okay? So that's that. While we're in the manual, so we don't have to keep discussing it, the manual, oh, sorry for the camera work. The manual has everything you need to know about your bike for doing this basic maintenance. The torque specs and everything. So you can do everything you need to do on the bike, and we'll go over everything that I'm getting ready to do. And that paper that fell, to make life easier for me, I wrote everything down from in the book, okay? So it takes 4 quarts, drain plug torque, 14 to 21 foot-pounds. The trans takes 28 fluid ounces. The trans plug takes 14 to 21 foot-ounces. Chain casing, over here, inside that cover, 30 fluid ounces, all right? And I'll show you how to fill that up. That plug, if you go right down underneath here, there's a plug underneath there. That plug is 21 or 14 to 21 foot-ounces. And then that's the tightening order of all these, okay? When you're putting it back on, and that is 84 to 108 inch-pounds. So I do everything back to spec. So that's the paperwork there. And we might as well swing right over here. So as far as our tools, after I get everything drained, I put mine up on the jack, because when you're doing the transmission and the chain casing or the gear casing or the gearbox, I make it level, okay? The only time it goes back on the kickstand is when I'm doing the final measurement on the oil. Gear oil, 80/40 from Harley-Davidson. This is all I use on my bike. Guys, I don't want to hear your opinion. Everyone uses different stuff. My bike has had Harley-Davidson oil and gear oil since the beginning. So, gear oil, what I call the chain case, okay? 28 fluid ounces for the tranny, 30 fluid ounces for the chain casing. 4 quarts, synthetic 3. I know that's a 3-in-1 hole. Some people use only that. I do not. I use that for the oil, transmission, casing, all right? Gasket set. The big ring is for the big round cover I just showed you for the gas, for the casing, for the gear casing there. And these 3 rings are for your 3 plugs that you're gonna pull. Oil filter tool. Another tool for the oil. It doesn't work the best, but it's better than getting it all over your bike. Slides up underneath the oil filter while you're draining. Okay, casing. So this slides down inside the casing and you pour from the top so you don't splash it all down your chrome. All right. Torque wrench. Ratchet, 3/8 I got there. I got this all set up for the plugs, inch pounds, and then our for taking out our bolts on the round case there. So that's all the tools. I'm gonna go over and get this warmed up. We can walk over here right now. Let's just fire her up. Now get why this is getting warmed up. After that, I'll go underneath the bike and I'll show you the plugs. All right, let's go underneath the bike and I'll show you. This plug here that is facing straight out, this is your oil. This plug here that is on the bottom facing straight down, I'm on the right hand side of the bike, by the way, okay, the throttle side, because that's the way the bike's leading. It's just as easy to get underneath here. So this is your transmission, this is your oil. You see this hex one here? Leave it alone. Don't take it out, all right? You have no reason to touch that. Now I'm gonna drain my oil and my transmission, and I'm not gonna do it on camera because it's boring. And don't judge my bike how dirty it is. We never cleaned it up last year. Oh, by the way, we got brand new tires on here after our last East Coast ride from North Dakota to Virginia Beach. So that's why all the road grime. So she still needs to be clean, but the oil is more important. So oil, transmission, and let me show you one other plug, because I remember I told you I do all three plugs. So let's walk around here. Okay. So we got to pull this off for our chain and our gearing in here, okay? And also that's the back side of where the belt runs in there. Obviously the belt is not in the fluid. All right, so I'm almost ready to put my oil back in, or my oil filter, I should say. I just want to show you guys, on here, there's a little ring right here, okay? And those rings are in this bag. There's 3 of them, because I drop all 3 holes, okay? Make sure that you take a little tool and you get up underneath it here and get that ring off, and then replace it. Clean your threads off, replace your ring, inspect your plug to make sure there was no metal or anything. Ours came out good. And then I use just a little tab of Permatex on the threads when it's going back in. Even though that we're torquing them down 14 to 21 pounds of foot-pounds, you still don't want to take a chance, man. This is your lifeline right here. If this plug comes out, you're fucked. So all these are in here. Make sure you do all 3 plugs with these little rings and just a little dab of Permatex. You don't need a lot, just enough to make sure that they're going to stay snug. All right, so I'm going to get back to this. We're going to do the transmission next, and then I'll come back and show you. I don't have to, well, I'll explain the filling up part of it, but that will be the next step. All right, so everything is done underneath the bike. Plugs are back in, torque is done. Now, for your transmission, you're pulling out your dipstick, okay? Let me just place that over here. And you're filling back up your hole right where the dipstick is, all right? Our transmission calls for 28 fluid ounces. These are 32. What I do, because I like to be precise, is I keep this around for my dirt bike, because you can see the fluid ounces right there, all the way up to 30. So I fill this exactly to 28 because I can see it. All right, I can't really gauge this. The last measurement on there is 24. So from 24 to 32 ounces, you got to guess where 28 is. So I keep this gear oil bottle. I'm not using that gear oil. I'm using the one I'm supposed to, but I put it in this bottle. And now I have 28 fluid ounces, and I can just put it into my case and I'm good. All right. The next thing, so we have the oil in there now. I just got to pull the filter out, and I'll show you that. And then we'll come back over here. This is where you fill it up, and they have the cold mark and everything. All right. So let me get this done, and then we'll go over and pop off that oil filter. All right, this next part's easy. So we have to get the oil filter. All right. And this tool here, this tool goes up underneath there. Got to get your hose out of the way, but it goes up in there, tries to collect all that. I can't do it with one hand. All right, and then the oil wrench from Harley. It has a gap in there because it fits one way in there, so you can spin it. Just have your pan. So this hole will drip into there. Don't forget to do the lubricant of your gasket before you put your filter back on, and then your filter will be done. Remember to do this before you fill your oil back up. So let me get that off, and then our next step will be the case. All right, I don't feel like I showed you this good enough. So this tool is great for collecting this, but loosen it up enough that you can start spinning that by hand to get it off, and then use this tool. And then, see, I drained the oil first. It does work. There's a little bit of stuff there. And then pull your filter out, okay? So, but that's just basically so you don't get, let's see if we even made a mess. Nah, it's not that bad, all right? Then we're gonna get up in there and we're gonna clean it and then do our thing. But that's how that tool works. So loosen it up with your tool, slide that chute underneath of it, then pull that off, and then you're good to go. All right, one more segment on the filter. Make sure you lube up your new gasket on the filter. All right, we're ready to go in there. I still got a little bit of oil coming down. They say go all the way in. When the filter hits the housing, give a 1/2 to 3/4 of a turn by hand. Don't use the filter wrench. I always do one more little with the filter wrench. You do what you want to do. So, all right, I'm gonna get this on and then we'll be back. Okay, last part we gotta do is the case here. And that's what that big filter is. And like I told you, straight underneath here is the plug. So we're gonna start by removing the plug. Once we get the plug removed, then we're gonna start cracking these open, and that will make everything drain out. And remember, when we fill this back up, you gotta be level. So I'll put it on the jack, and then 30 fluid ounces. So let me get this off, and then I'll show you the rest of it here. So before we put everything back together and get up in the stand, these all get torqued when they go back in on the cover, okay? They get Permatex, a little dab. Your plug gets Permatex, and don't forget the washer that goes, or the gasket that goes on there. And then up here is, let me see if I can get it out. Here's the old one. You get rid of that one, and you simply just put this in the new one, and everything goes back up. But we are not gonna do that yet. We're gonna get the plug back in, torque that down, and then we're gonna get the bike up on the stand, only on the jack stand, good enough to make it level. And then I'll show you the next part of putting the 30 fluid ounces in there. All right, so we'll be right back. All right, here's this part of it. So we're all drained, plug is back underneath, torque down. Here's this little tool. If you've never seen this before, this is so you don't make a mess using a regular funnel. You're gonna put that right there. Once again, I use my measurement thing because this calls for 30 fluid ounces. And you're simply going to just take your time and put it back in. And there's a way that they say that you can see when it comes up to where it's supposed to be and everything. I've been doing my bike since 2019 the same way as I'm showing you, and I've had no problems at all. Now, as far as the oil, what holes, if you want to use the same oil, the Sin 3 in all 3 holes, you do you. But, oh, see, I'm going too fast. I'm making a mess right there. So we got to slow it down a little bit here. Got to slow it down. Even with that, you can make a little mess because I went too quick. So we're going to finish this up here. That's also an indication that you are, sorry about the camera, that you are exactly where you're supposed to be as far as the level. We're gonna let that settle down. That's also why we put it up on the jack, to get it level, because you can't do this while it's just on the kickstand. But 30 fluid ounces of the gear oil, 28 fluid ounces on the transmission of the gear oil, and then I'm not going to bore you with refilling back up the oil. The manual says fill up 3 quarts of oil, start the bike to get it into the oil filter, and then check your dipstick. Okay, so we have to put the cover back on. We're simply going to get our gasket in, put our cover on, put our bolts back in with our Permatex, spec from 84 to 108 torque pounds of pressure in a certain segment. Before I get off the video, if you want to see that segment again, just like I said, this is all in the book. So that segment goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 84 to 108 inch pounds. Okay, so the other ones are 14 to, all the other plugs underneath the bike are 14 to 21 foot-pounds. All right, so there you have it. That's dropping all 3 holes. I recommend dropping all 3 holes every time, because you're doing it once a season or every 5,000 miles. I take a lot of trips from North Dakota to the East Coast, so my 5,000 miles comes pretty quick. So these little tools, you can find them at Harley, or you could just do it your own way. But there you have it. So we're gonna just button her back up, put our oil back in, and we're ready to go. I hope this helped you. I had to make one more segment of this video. I'm not a mechanic. I just do my maintenance on my bike. I noticed when I was going back through the video, getting ready to edit it, I called a lot of gaskets filters. Don't know why. I don't make these videos all the time, so yeah. So I just wanted to acknowledge what I said before all the comments coming in. That's a gasket, not a filter. I know. I make cups, I make tumblers. Check us out, Harley's Doggy Dog World. But I also ride bikes and I change my own oil. So if I messed up on any mechanical words, then I own up to it. So I'm sure the comments will be hilarious. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good day.